between. Now, the thing about this, if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys clocked in for this shift, one guy was sick.
Boy Scouts of America has become one of the most premier organizations to help boys to become great men. They teach them many traits including survival and self-consciousness. Even though it has become one of the most unique groups, it still lacks retention in today's society.
Currently, I am a Weeblo leader, which is essentially I work with children that are getting ready to transition from Cub Scout over to Boy Scout. So ages range from 10 to 12. I work with that age range and prepare them from coming out of Cub Scouts into Boy Scouts.
I'm currently the field director. Basically, I'm the third in command for the entire council. I oversee operations out of the Savannah field office, as well as oversee other operational aspects within the council.
I joined the organization at the age of 7 when me and my mother first moved down here from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. My aunt, along with her kids, she wanted us to not be involved in the streets. So they got us involved in scouting, which was an alternative way to keeping us on the streets.
I've been a member of the Boy Scouts for the last 20 years, and I was a Boy Scout in my younger years because my grandmother actually signed me up for Cub Scouts. I really didn't have a choice. She signed me up, kind of the dictatorship style of leadership. There was no democracy.
My experience when it came to the Boy Scouts it was pretty fun. When I first started out, I started out in the Cub Scouts, and that's the lowest. I was maybe in like first grade when I was in that. And they had the Cub Scouts, they had Tiger Scouts, they had Wolf Scouts, and they had Bear Scouts, and all of them was the older kids. So I did want to be a part of them and their activities, but I had to stick with the Cub Scouts. But the Cub Scouts, I actually like the Cub Scouts because they actually taught some of the lessons that they taught me. I still use today, like some of the lessons that come with self-development, self-awareness, self-consciousness, and stuff like that. And I learned all that at a young age dealing with the Cubs.
You definitely get to experience some things that most other people don't. Living in the inner city, most kids will never experience going on a camp out, experience the actual wilderness to where you can actually look up and see a wide array of stars. Just like with any organization, retention, because there is so much in the allure for the streets and other sports, sometimes scouting takes a backseat.
I decided to stop the Boy Scouts because the older I got, the more I got into. Like it was more basketball, a little bit of football, baseball. I started falling in love with more sports and bowling and golf. And then on top of that, I just started to get more into activities like summer camps and just different like after school activities and stuff.
I think we've lost a generation. As single parent families are at an all-time high, it is hard for a dad to put a son in scouting when most likely the dad is not in the child's life. And the mother has no idea about scouting because she would have never been impacted by scouting unless her dad or brothers were in scouting.
Indeed, Boy Scouts of America has become the most prestige organization to help many men change their lives. On the other hand, the challenges that are affecting the organization have resulted in retention. They have received many backlashes for religious policy, child endangerment allegation, and now allowing young girls to enter membership in their organization.
It is true. The Boy Scouts of America was actually founded on principles of dealing with Christianity.
We're an organization that is open to Jewish folks, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists. You just have to have belief in a higher power. However, atheists cannot join the Boy Scouts. They have no belief in a higher power.
So for me, I personally don't see a problem with somebody who is a self-proclaimed atheist joining an organization such as that was originally built on Christian principles, because there are Christian principles that to me seem like they're human principles as well. So if they coincide, I don't see why there should be a problem.
This old neighborhood, like a cul-de-sac area, so kids get to know each other in those areas. And when I was younger, I wanted to join the Boy Scouts, but I didn't really know how to get affiliated with them and everything like that. And I talked to my dad, and then ended up being our neighbor across the street that I actually hung out with a lot was in the Boy Scouts. So my dad talked to his dad, and then they started taking me interest meetings, which was, it was interesting. And then suddenly we stopped going. And it wasn't really, I wanted to keep going, but it was like he didn't want to go anymore, my friend. So we got to the point where we were trying to figure out what was going on, and we actually found out that he was getting, like, I wouldn't say technically molested by another older boy that was in the Scouts.
With that here, I can honestly say that personally, I have not experienced it with any of the troops that I have or any of the surrounding troops. We tend to stick real closely to the 2 deep leadership, which essentially where you have to have, for every five Scouts, you have to have 1 adult.
Recently, we just rolled out a new child abuse prevention training. It's probably one of the most robust in the country. And so we're going to be in the driver's seat preventing child abuse instead of the back seat. So
the policy kind of has changed from being solely to where we won't stand for this to now where it's kind of seeming like it's getting lax. So with everyone being lawsuit and sue happy, a lot of people are trying to make accommodations for different things so that there will be minimization of lawsuits and residual flashback from different things that people may do because they look at it as a negative way.
I actually feel like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts shouldn't merge, only because Boy Scouts learn different things than Girl Scouts do, and it's that time for boys to actually learn all male traits, basically, like, creating fires, doing everything that a man's supposed to do. Me
personally, I don't like the change because of how long scouting has been around. We reached the 100-year plus mark, and for them to go and change it, it almost to me feels like a slap in the face because they're trying to make it tolerant for young women to actually be a part of the organization. So it seems like instead of, like I stated before, people to avoid getting a lawsuit, they kind of made it to where, okay, we're going to go ahead and allow this and y'all have no choice but to like it. If not, you don't have to be in scouting anymore. So it kind of is a slap in the face to myself and others that came before me on that were actually founded on those principles of scouting.
So we didn't actually change our name. We're still the Boy Scouts of America. What we did was we changed the program name. Instead of it being Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, it's now Cub Scouts and Scouts BSA, venturing and so forth. While the change may be new to some, in the early 1960s, going into 1970s, the Scouts BSA was used to describe the scouting program. It was not called Boy Scouts. That was a term later adopted in the later 70s, going into the 80s, into what you see now. And in fact, if you look at a 1960s uniform, the uniform says Scouts BSA on it. So not something new, something old. Along with a lot of the programs, many people aren't historians, so when you see an organization that's been around 108 years, in the life cycle of an organization, a program may have lived, died, and will be resurrected as the times change. This program now fits the model and the needs of that age group and that demographic currently.
The developmental changes that has occurred in the Boy Scouts has challenged the organization in many ways to overcome these obstacles that may affect them for the future, but will they conquer it?